Hello everyone, myself Pushpak Maske from 2K19 batch, and today I am going to elaborate vestibulo-ocular reflex. Let us see how does it work. So first of all, this vestibulo-ocular reflex defines the dynamic equilibrium of the body. So now let us know what is dynamic equilibrium. While the act of running, the image frame does not bounces along with the body posture. This is basically the dynamic equilibrium, and mainly it is maintained by the semicircular canals. The semicircular canals consist of semicircular ducts, and the dilated portion of semicircular duct is ampulla. Now this semicircular duct and ampulla have a quite important role in this vestibulo-ocular reflex. Now let's know what is this duct and ampulla. Let us consider this semicircular duct. It consists of endolymph. Okay. Now the dilated portion of this duct is known as the ampulla. This ampulla mainly constitute of two important parts. The first of all, this is in red color. This is the gelatinous cap-like structure known as ampullary cupula. And the second one, the most prominent, that is the hair cells. Now these hair cells are quite important because they act as a sensory detectors for this reflex. Now let us know about these hair cells well there. So hair cells basically consist of one large stereocilia and many small, one large kinocilium and many small stereocilia. So we have come to know about this. Now let us know the actual pathway. Let us consider a steady person. When he suddenly moves his head, due to that sudden movement, the endolymph is going to move due to the inertial motion. Now due to this inertial motion, what will happen? This endolymph will strike on the ampullary cupula, and due to this strike, what will happen? This kinocilium will move towards the stereocilia. Now as the kinocilia moves towards the stereocilia, the channels out here will get open, and from this channel the entry or influx of potassium as well as the calcium channel will done. Now due to this influx, the net positive charge will increase. As the net positive charge is increased, we will say this is now depolarized. Now what will happen? This calcium is going to bind the synaptic vesicles, and finally they will show the exocytosis, and there will be a release of neurotransmitter, preferably glutathione. So now as this glutathione is released, there is a generation of stimulus which is carried first to the Scarpa's ganglion. So Scarpa's ganglion, now this nerve is basically the vestibular branch of vestibulocochlear nerve, and this vestibular branch of vestibulocochlear nerve carries the information from this part to the central nervous system. Now it will carry the information specifically to the vestibular nucleus apparatus, and from this vestibular nuclear apparatus there will be a carrying of information to the nerve root of sixth cranial nerve, that is the abducent nerve. Now from this sixth cranial nerve, the nerve will now let's innervate the lateral rectus muscle. Okay, so sixth cranial nerve will innervate the lateral rectus muscle and stimulate its contraction, which will lead to movement of the left eye towards the left side. So now consider another, this is about the impact of this movement on the left eye. Now we will consider the impact of this movement on this eye. What happens? The interneuron from the sixth root will move to the third root, that is mainly the oculomotor nerve, which is going to innervate the medial rectus muscle, and this medial rectus muscle will again be stimulated and there will be movements towards the left side. So this is all about the movement in the right ear. So now let's know about this movement of the endolymph. Again, in the left ear, the endolymph is going to move towards the left side, as same as that of that. But what will happen? Endolymph is moving here, so these hair cells, that is the kinocilium and stereocilia, will move away from each other. So these channels are not going to open here, and as they are not going to open, there will be a definite hyperpolarization. Now, due to that hyperpolarization, the same pathway as we have discussed here is going to happen, but that hyperpolarization is basically will cause the inhibition. Okay, so this is all about the actual pathway. Here we described all the reflex pathway. Now let us move towards the practical of this vestibulo-ocular reflex. Now, if we see properly during the movement, first of all, the eyes will move towards the opposite side of the movement of head. But after a fraction of seconds, they will come in the same frame as that of our head. The eyes are not going to be in that frame, that is movement towards the opposite side, but they are coming in the same frame of that of our head. So it will causes the to and fro movement. Now look, as they are moving towards the opposite side, but after a fraction of second they are moving in the direction of the head. So this will lead to and fro movement, and this to and fro movement of eyes is nothing but the nystagmus. So this is the case of nystagmus. Now let's know the importance of learning this pathway. The importance is that it will help us to know the condition of any kind of brain damage or any kind of coma patients. How? Look, this is completely a brain stem reflex. There is no particular kind of involvement of the other structures. So it is a purely brain stem reflex. Now, and mainly involve the pons and the midbrain. So now let us correlate. As the patient comes to us, and if we are rotating the head and the eyes are moving in the opposite side, then it describes that all the brain stem is nice. There is no any kind of abruption there. But if we rotate the head of the person to the one side and the eyes are moving on the same side, then definitely there could be any kind of lesion, or there could be any kind of disintegrity between the pons and the medulla. Okay, so this is the one condition. So what is the second condition? Second condition in case of the coma patients is that if we are rotating the head and there is no movement of eyes at all. So if there is no movement of eyes at all, then we can definitely say the person should be brain dead. So this basically helps us to describe whether there is a lesion, whether there is a structural disintegrity, whether there is a brain dead, or whether is all the brain stem is quite nice. So this is the importance of this pathway. So this is all from my side. Hope you enjoyed a lot. Thank you so much.